Yeah. Welcome back. Thank you. I know, it's like, bam, all at once.
We were actually talking at the table earlier, and someone used the phrase series regular, and we were unsure. Has it been? You're not. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, there will be several.
Okay.
There will be multiple.
Okay. We just can't say exactly how many.
Right. I don't even know. Yes. I mean, I know it's a good chunk, but it's not. I don't know. I don't have a count.
Okay. Can you tease at all how she comes back or where she may have been before she?
Am I allowed to say that?
You can tell us. No,
right. Off the record, right? I am alive. I will be hunting, working with the boys, and trying to digest the new reality of being 28 still, and my boys are grown men and gigantic and living a life that I did not wish for them.
So what do you think you do your presence that the dynamic of the Winchester boys?
I think, like Jensen said in the panel, I don't know if you were in the panel, but okay, so in some ways it's a liability. There is now another bargaining chip on the table. You know, they're constantly, the boys are being held, like, the safety of one is being held over the safety, the other, and now there's also mom, which is a whole new level. But it's also, I can speak for myself, like, wow, this is something now to delve into. There is a lot there. They were babies when I left, and they had this whole life, but now I'm still their mom. And for them, I'm still their mom, but now they're having to deal with, they don't have their dad, and what happened. There's a lot of under the surface stuff to deal with in every scene, even when we're talking about breakfast.
Can you talk about breakfast?
There's Dean. It's always about food, right? Constantly.
So he just expects you to jump right back in and have his Cheerios ready for him.
Well, it's sort of more our mutual love of food. And there is that opportunity as well. I mean, it's genetic. So, what did he get from me? What pieces of his personality, and I see that in my son. There are things he does, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I do that. Maybe I shouldn't. So you just, it is. I mean, even with my dad, he'll do something, I'm like, I do that. Like the way he stacks the dishes in the drain board, it's like the way your brain is wired. And I'm like, hey, there was no recycling when I was a kid, and now he recycles the same way I do. I'm like, it's freaky. And I think that there will definitely be some of that with, particularly Dean, but probably both of them. I've been dead for 33 years, but now they do things the way I will or did.
So are there any sort of weird mannerisms that Sam or Dean have that you had to go back and watch to think, well, Mary should maybe do
I'm in the
some
process.
Of this? Are you?
I told Jensen it's reverse inheritance. So I'm trying to...
Are you watching specific episodes, or...
No, it's like on the set. I'm like, how would you do this? I'm like, what are you doing? Okay, I'm going to do that. Like that.
Oh.
Because I think it's not going to be overt. I think there will be times where maybe it's overt, but in the beginning it's going to be something that maybe just the viewers will be like, oh, check it out. That's what I'm thinking.
Guys, thanks very much.
Okay, so I was going to ask this of Jensen, but I feel like you might have an answer for us. Will Mary get to drive the Impala?
I wouldn't rule that out. She knows that car very well, and she was quite very surprised to see it still in working order and looking good. So, yeah, I think she'll probably get behind the wheel.
And what's the
it's a very odd relationship in the beginning. You know, the only thing she really knew of her children was a toddler and a baby. More than a toddler, but you know, young. Now they're grown men doing something that she probably wouldn't have picked for them to do. And I think she's a little disappointed in that, that's the way things worked out. And if she could talk to John, she probably would have said to him, "Why did you do this?" On the other hand, you know, she understands his mania for it, why he turned to hunting. She's also a person at a time, you know. When she passed away, there was no internet. Only she knew even how to do a cell phone. One thing we play is that when she's helping them on a particular hunt, she says, "Well, I guess we should go knock on doors and go down to the Hall of Records and all this." And they go, "No, we can pretty much do all that here." So, you know, it's a real adjustment for her, and, you know, a little uncomfortable, doesn't quite know what her place in this world is. You know, she was taken out of heaven where, you know, as you probably know, our heaven is a version where you just kind of relive your favorite time. You know, for Bobby, it was sitting, reading a book and drinking and, you know, fishing. You know, for Mary, it was being with her infant child and her young son, and this is a whole other thing. So it's a hard transition for her.
One of the episodes that fans really responded to last season was Baby, and that was because of how kind of small scale and it was kind of close. Now that we're kind of done with God and Mara, and this is more like a family dynamic this season, can we expect more moments like that? Maybe just Sam and Eve sitting in the car with Mary.
Well, you know, Baby was it's a really special episode, and that was, I don't think anybody other than Robbie could have written that, and Tom Wright did a spectacular job directing it. You know, technically that was a really hard show to do. I think this season, just the way we planned it, is going to be more intimate than certainly that sort of big uber story we told last year. And, you know, I think having Mom and all that, it really, you know, sort of adds to that. You know, in the first batch, I think we're telling some stories that are maybe a little, at least in the structure, reminiscent of some of the earlier stuff we did, you know, before the mythology really started, you know, kicking off, and we had to keep building on that. You know, I think we went about as far as we could go with God and Amara. So this is a more intimate season for sure.
Since with Another Diamond, it's more or less kicked off the Winchester story, do you think the show's sort of coming full circle?
Well, yeah, sure. You know, it's you know, I mean, it's a return of sort of an iconic character in the sense that even though he was very brief in the pilot, you know, it's the impetus for the show. So to have that character back does bring it full circle. And again, as I said, these, you know, sort of dealing with the oddity of the situation, you know, I mean, Dean really relishes this, having his mother back. Sam never really knew her. She only knew Sam as a baby. It's just odd, you know. I mean, she sort of, in a way, questions, or some people would question, you know, I mean, that's Amara's gift, but is that what really you would have wanted? You know? So we think there's some really interesting stuff to play there.
Since you're going to be focusing more on the family dynamic this season, will we be getting more flashbacks?
I don't know that we've planned any more flashbacks specifically. You know, we're not, you know, getting Jeffrey Dean Morgan is probably not going to happen. He's busy, and there are times where when we start writing these stories where we just sort of say, you know, well, flashback might be good here. We can, you know, do that. We flashback a lot. That's not a new trick for us. So, you know, it certainly could happen. Yeah. By the way, Eric used to say right in the beginning, he said, I don't want to do any flashbacks. Eric had some of these rules, right? And he and I would, you know, we worked wonderfully together, and I love him dearly, right? And he didn't want to do dissolves, he didn't want to do flashbacks. He had these things, right? And then there was one episode early on where I said, God, we really need a flashback to what happened here, right? And he said, no. And so we shot the episode and cut the episode, and he and I were in the editing room together, and he looked at me and he goes, we should really see what happened at this. and I went up and shot a flashback, and then so after that, the no flashback rule didn't exist anymore. Thanks, Ollie. So yeah, we go to flashbacks.
Are there any other kind of, this is interesting from the very beginning, I think kind of rules you had the storylines with the characters that you found yourself to break, being the show's been on so long?
Well, originally Eric wanted to, the sort of uber mythology thing sort of just evolved. Eric wanted to do what he called Googleable urban legends and things like that, right? Well, we found out by episode 7 or 8 is we're running out of decent urban legends, right? And so the show started really evolving about the search for Dad, and that's what it's become. What we did find out is if you go with really good monsters / villains who have their own personality and have a character of their own, and Eric used to say, and it's true, he says, the good villain is the hero of his own story, and we've always tried to sort of do that to make the monsters interesting, and that's probably been the smartest thing we've done. They're just not stock vampires or stock werewolves. They all have their own story. Okay, that it?
Thank you.
Great, thank you guys.
$70 blow dry, and it's still like this when I woke up this morning. The frizz, with the humidity.
Humidity, yeah.
San Diego's not my friend for hair. Definitely not. How are you all doing?
Good, thank you. How about yourself?
Thank you for being
Surprise.
Yeah, so excited to see you.
Yeah, I'm so lucky to be included. Very lucky. I have to say, last year when I watched it from the audience, it looked absolutely terrifying, and I was shitting myself. Sorry, please say something else. Don't say shitting myself. Say something else. I was really nervous.
Oh.
And I was worried I wasn't going to be able to hear properly, and it wasn't easy. So I was like listening. Do you know what I mean? Really concentrating for like an hour. It's like a lot. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but the guys are so much fun. Did you enjoy it this time?
It was very good.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was a bit different from last year, huh?
It's good to have a female influence on
Yeah.
the channel. There's been
Two as well.
natural world that the female characters are prevalent or people don't like them, but your character is so well. I think everyone loves your character and loves you in the world.
Oh,
So
I'll take that. No.
that works.
I think I was so happy to get the role. And she's Eugenie, and everyone who created her. There was such naughtiness and feistiness in her, and I just relished it so much and enjoyed it so much that maybe because sometimes people say she's annoying or whatever, but I sort of don't care that she's annoying. Do you know what I mean? She's like that. She's one of those, isn't she? And I think maybe if you're having fun doing it, maybe it's fun to watch. And it's such a fun set. I'm so spoiled. It's the most fun set. It has to be the most fun set in North America, right? If not the world. And I'm quite serious about my work. I'm very good, and I turn up on time, and so I don't actually mess about that much off camera, but that's what they totally want you to do. You're like, not only have I got to be a good actor, I've also got to learn to be mess around more. So it's challenging with these guys because they're so good at messing around because they've had 11 years, 12 years practice. And so I've sort of got to catch up and do more for the gag reel. I think that the gag reel is a big focus for everyone during shooting. I feel like most takes are done, they'll try and do something that can possibly be used as a gag reel, and I'm like, I need to get with the program.
Tell us your favorite moments from the set.
From the set, at the end of season 11, it was the two Jays the 2 M's and the 2 R's, and an Emily and a Lisa, and it was just what a lovely bunch of people on the set, on the lawn. There was one time after it was raining, the graveyard scene, where honestly Jensen, honestly he got me every time, totally did, and we're huddled in the trailer afterwards together, and Rob and Jensen got their guitars and sing a song, and I mean, people would pay $1 million to be in my position, right? They literally would, and I never forget that. I never forget it. I know it's wonderful.
So you've become a staple on the convention circuit with the show, and I've seen a couple of your panels, and they're always excellent. And you hand out interesting gifts to the fans. What do you think is the weirdest thing you've handed out?
A shower cap. It's Erica Carroll. You know Erica, who played Hannah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she's my dear friend, and the first kind of big convention we did together up in Vancouver, she had these handmade cupcakes with Supernatural, and I was like, I've got nothing. I got nothing. I thought I'll just turn up and I'll be fine. So when I went home that night, I was like, there's toiletries obviously in the bathroom, and I don't know, my stupid crazy mind. So I turned up the next day and I was like, who needs cupcakes? You can have hotel soap. Or a shoe shine mitt. Maybe the shoe mitt. I don't understand what shoe mitts are for. But they've got nothing on them.
It's like the guys that go to do at the airport. Like, wait, what? It's weird.
Well, that's probably the weirdest.
Phenomenon.
Yeah. And I sometimes recycle stuff. If fans give me stuff, you get so many things. And I hate wasting things. Scottish. And so sometimes I'll somebody give me a little Castiel doll or something. I gave somebody it in Pittsburgh, and that's fine, isn't it? It's not like regifting a Christmas present. Slightly dodgy territory, and I really admire people get up to ask a question. It's really nerve-wracking. Because if I'm at a panel for a film or something, I'm too scared usually to ask a question, so I admire people who get up and ask questions. So I like to reward them with a conditioner, or a shampoo, or a shower gel.
And it seemed like you fit really seamlessly right in with the fandom, which is a scary thing. I mean, even as a fan coming into the fandom is sort of terrifying. It's a big one.
I had no idea.
But you seemed like you just jumped right in, and everyone embraced you, and you embraced everyone, and it's been very organic.
The casting tried to explain to me. I said to my agent at the time, we don't think Ruth's quite understanding the impact her character might have on the Supernatural fandom, or quite what the Supernatural fandom's like. And so I got online, I joined Tumblr. I was on Twitter, but I had 300 followers or something. Facebook, I started to learn about the fandom. I followed some of the main fan accounts, and I got really scared because I'd followed Jared and Jensen, and it hadn't been announced, and I unfollowed them in case somebody, because I know how, so I had to unfollow them just in case it was a spoiler. So I've learned about the fandom through the fandom, and obviously through meeting everyone at the conventions, and it's a whole new world. And it's amazing.
Well, we appreciate having you here.
Oh, I love being in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are they all on? Yes. Do it again?
Oh, that looks great.
That's the interview.
So, how's that for sound?
Perfect.
It's more that we look like we're going through an earthquake, which I really enjoy.
You said that.
I did. I didn't know if you heard me over the noise.
Yes, I live in California.
You're used to it then.
Mm-hmm. So, what's up?
Okay, your fans from Brazil, Brazil, want to know how would you like, if you'd like Holly to be more like he was in the 5th season?
5th season?
Yeah.
No.
Why?
Because I like the way he is right now.
Because they are
They're in the 5th season? Ah. Time to catch up. They're too busy playing football, dancing, making love, tanning on beaches. It's Brazil. I like Brazil. Forget the Olympics. I was in Rio de Janeiro, and I went out into Copacabana Beach, and I was out on the beach and this perfectly tanned, live body in a thong walked past me, a 65-year-old man playing soccer. I was like, okay, that's Brazil. There you go, Lake Rio, by the Seal.
So I feel like Crowley probably...
You feel like Crowley? That's like,
I do. I'm like,
I feel like Crowley.
I feel like he's probably been building up a lot of steam that he needs to blow off over the last...
Okay.
I mean, you know,
No, that's
he's
usually
kind of
Jared.
Like been through, what can we expect from him, I guess, next season?
Steam blowing off? I'm not sure.
Cool.
Don't know. You never know. I mean, you obviously didn't see the panel, right?
I did.
Oh, you did see the panel?
Yeah.
Some of you didn't see the panel. You guys see the panel?
Not all of it.
You don't know the spoil. You know the spoilers, though, right?
Yes.
So you know about
Yeah.
Rick Springfield and you know all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's going to be so much fun. And you know about the family aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, this is the theme that we're going this way. I mean, we've had some seasons that are thematic in one long story of a big bad. We've had some seasons that are very bitty and piecemeal with individual episodes. And we've had other ones that come in and out of 2 or 3 different types of story. And, you know, if you take 11 seasons as a whole and you look at them, you go, it's worked out really, really well one way or the other. And so to say, okay, well, this is the way it's going to go is never a bad thing. It's always a good start, a theme or a beginning to an idea. So the idea of back to basics to me is a fabulous idea because, you know, we're watching the Winchester Brothers and if we don't care about the Winchester Brothers, we really don't have much to watch. So,
right.
As much as you know, Misha and myself and the other stories are interesting,
Yeah.
it's not supernatural without the
the
boys. You know, I mean,
right.
you know, you've got Weekend at Bobby's is a really good example of you can step away,
Right.
but you know, it might be fun to have a weekend at Crowley's or a weekend at Cass's or
Yeah.
whatever. But I think in order to be able to be relevant still after this amount of time, I think we still need to explore
Yeah.
the aspects of the Winchester family dynamic.
And I think that's something last season did really, really well with taking Crowley and Cass and the way that those characters were worked into the Winchester story. So, you know, I think the overarching story was about the Winchesters, but
It's always been about that. I mean, so
Yeah.
the fact is, it's you know, the relationship between Crowley's not just Crowley's not standalone versus the world. It's always with or against the Winchesters. It's,
Right.
it's how it relates to the Winchesters.
Right.
It's how everything is pivotal, and you know, I think it's fabulous. I think it's a wonderful way to go. It's amazing that the show endures now. As somebody pointed out, I'm now in the 2 longest running genre shows.
Supernatural or
Doctor
sci-fi.
Who.
Sci-fi.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And Supernatural, the 2 longest running genre shows of all time, right?
Pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Do you think that Crowley seeing Mary's new dynamic with the Winchester brothers is going to shine new light on Crowley's relationship with his own mother?
I don't think so, because it's not Crowley's mother. It's Fergus's mother. And I wish somebody would explain that to me somehow, that it becomes Crowley's mother, but it's not Crowley's mother. But it's just what's left of Fergus is the sort of... It's a very odd relationship. It's not a real mother-son relationship. It's a what-if relationship, I think, more than anything else. It's a sort of overly blown, over-dramatic, over-romantic view of what it should be or what he didn't have, as opposed to what she should have been and what it should have been. I think it's almost like a cautionary tale more than a relationship. It's like what you shouldn't do as a parent and what you shouldn't do as a child. That being said, I mean, I love Ruth and I love what she's doing, but it's very difficult to play because it's spiked with animosity on a continuous basis. But it should be a lot of fun to see what happens this year. There's a rumor that my family unit will expand again, so we'll see how that goes. But keep watching, and thank you, Brazil.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
So was that your first official panel since taking over?
Since taking over, yes. I did the panel last year, which was a lot of fun. But this year, yeah, this is my first one from taking over with Bob Singer, who I think you guys have met. You know, try not to screw it up. You know what I mean? That's the only goal. You know, you're like I say, like with these characters, this crew, everything, the show. It's like being handed the keys to a Lamborghini. Like, look, the car works great. The only thing that can really mess it up is you.
Don't wreck it.
So don't wreck it. And then, you know, we'll see.
Well, it went great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
What's it
you.
like taking over, the star into a show?
Yes. Well, I've been on the show a long time. This is my 9th year on the show.
Yeah.
So I was there with Eric Kripke, and I was there with Sarah Gamble, and I was there with Jeremy Carver. So I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what the show can be. But I think the challenge is coming in the 12th season, it's how do you keep it fresh for everybody? And I'm talking about the crew and the actors and the writers, and it's about, but the great thing about Supernatural is we can tell any kind of story we want. Funny stories, scary stories, very emotional stories, and we've got a cast and a crew that we know can do it. And, for us it's about we want to always challenge ourselves and challenge them because they respond so well. Last year, the baby episode, for example, was an incredible production feat in the way they put it together. And, it was something where these guys have been working on the show. A lot of the crew's been with us since day one. And they're like, well, what are we supposed to do now? How do you do it? It becomes a fun problem. So for us, it's the same thing when we're writing. For Jared and Jensen, I think it's the same thing. Giving them something new to play or a greater depth to plumb is always the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've had episodes like Baby, not exactly obviously, but interesting sort of pulled out from the way it's normally done episodes in every season.
Right.
Do you think there will be an episode or two like that this season?
I think there will be. It's always about finding that right idea. And, when it comes to kind of the very conceptual episodes or the crazy episodes, we tend to do one every 2 years. It's about our batting average. Because the truth of the matter is, if you're going to go crazy, you want to go crazy for the right reasons. And as much as I personally would love to see the episode told purely from the point of view of Castiel's trench coat, it might not be the right year for it. I don't know. Just like 20 minutes of just tumble drawing. as he sits out there like just in his underwear, just reading a magazine.
I feel like that would be a huge hit.
You know what?
I mean, I would be really.
That's more. I consider that more maybe a web series.
Okay.
Cass does laundry.
Yeah.
And then it's like Crowley bakes pies, and everybody just has their own spin-off. Spin-off thing. Sure.
Love it. DVD extras.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
what are you most excited to explore about this season? We know it's going to be a little smaller and intimate.
Right.
Are you really looking forward to taking explore the family dynamics of Mary Sam and but also Crowley?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's the best this show is when you take something big or crazy or funny or whatever and throw it at these guys and see how they react. Because obviously they're the core of the show. So last season when God shows up, the God showed up was cool, but their reactions made the show. And so the British Men of Letters, Mary, things like that, you want to put everybody in the room and see how everybody kind of talks to each other. So, Sam has a very different reaction to Mary than Dean does, even though they both want their mother back. Castiel, has a relationship with Mary, that is, they both have a lot in common. It's not a romantic relationship in any way, but they both have a lot in common. It's this kind of really interesting friendship that starts to form. So, that's become really interesting. And then Crowley and Rowena, I think you get both of those characters a little bit of a crossroads. For Rowena, she's like, look, her whole life she's thought more power would bring her happiness and freedom. And that's why she became a witch, and that's why she got close to Crowley, and that's why she got close to Lucifer. But then she looks at God, and God just has all the power, and he's not happy at all. He's like kind of a sad sack, like Family Guy a little bit. And so for her, it's like, have I been living my life the wrong way? Like, is this what I really want? So I think when we meet her, she's going to be in kind of an interesting place. For Crowley, I think, he is saying to everyone in his quest to go after Lucifer, this is about reclaiming hell, demons won't side with me until he's gone. But I think when we dig a little deeper on that, what we realize is it's incredibly personal. And the interesting thing for Crowley is that he doesn't really let anything get personal. His stuff with Sam and Dean, he lets it go. His stuff with his mother, that was a little bit, but this is, I think, we're going to find a much more driving, he was humiliated in a way that I think raises a lot of issues for him that we can explore both in kind of the first run of our episodes, but then also, throughout the season.
Yeah. You brought up the Men of Letters. How much more are we going to learn about them in this kind of, second?
I think we're going to learn a lot. I think what we're going to find is that, the British Men of Letters, unlike the American Men of Letters who were kind of wiped out, they survived. They were always very small, always very hidden, but always very influential. And what we're going to find out is there has not been a monster-related death in Britain since 1965. Like, they're really good at their job.
On top of it.
But there's a price for that. Because they're good at the job because the way they run things is a bit Orwellian. And so they look at America and they're like, look, all the hunters over there are cowboys. They drive around in cars and they wait to see something in the newspaper and then they go in. That's the wrong way to do it. Like we have to go in, especially in the wake of the darkness. We have to show them how it's done.
And of course, our guys, Sam Dean, other hunters, they're free spirits. They don't necessarily want some, guy with an accent coming in and playing, mom to them, So for them, it's about, but at the same time, it's not like the British Men of Letters are wrong. What they're doing is extremely effective. So for Sam Dean, I think there's some conflict, like, do we accept this? Do we not accept it? Do we take things here and there? Do we buy in? Do we work with these people? Do we not? So I think there's some real questions in terms of, Sam Dean hunters are always going to be hunters. Are they doing it the right way?
Interesting. So we tried to make a spoiler about Lucifer.
Yes.
The panel.
Yes.
Is there anything more you can share about the plotline?
Yeah, I think with Lucifer, the interesting thing is, he never really wanted anything. He never wanted to rule heaven. He never wanted to rule hell. What he really wanted was a conversation with his father. And he got it. But I think it was in some ways unfulfilling. It's not like they hugged and everything was fine. It was an uneasy alliance, if we can call it that. And so I think, moving on, Lucifer got that. He realizes he's never going to get what he wants. So the question then becomes, okay, if I'm not going to get that, what do I want? And when we meet Lucifer early on, even though he's bouncing from body to body and he's kind of in search of a host, there's a part of him that's like, I want to go on vacation. Like, I want to just have some fun. Like, why not? Maybe this whole worship thing will really work out. But of course, the problem is when your name is Lucifer, your worshipers tend to be not great. Like, not the top tier guys. It's more. It's not. You don't have the awesome churches. You have like somebody's rec room with their mom. Yeah. So for him, it's like, okay, well, maybe I go be someone who's already worshipped, which is this Vince Vincente character. In some ways, that would be very fulfilling. And in some ways, it just kind of emboldens Lucifer because at first, it's fun. He's in a rock star. Like, that's going to be fun. But I think it's going to take a turn where you're like, oh, what he really wants is devotion. And devotion has two sides. There's a very good side of it, and there's a very, very bad side of it. If you really love someone, like fanatically love someone, you'll do horrible, horrible things if they ask you to. And I think for part of Lucifer, he's like, this is awesome. This is a new set of toys to play with. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for
Cool.
your time.
Thank you.
You always do a lot with your charity and things like that with the convention and everything else. Bars, etc. This year you brought Gishwet
Yes.
to SDCC with
Yes.
Gishwet.
Yes.
So we wanted to ask you about some Gishwet stuff.
Okay.
Have you ever had an idea for an item that has been immediately vetoed? And if so, what was it?
Well, every year we create a list for the scavenger hunt that's about 200 items long, but that list usually starts at about 250 items long and gets winnowed down for various reasons. Either things are going to be too... One of the reasons we take an item off the list is because it's going to be too boring for us to look at thousands of submissions of that thing. Like, we've made the mistake of having people like recite really bad poetry as a Gishwet item, and like when you have to watch submissions of that, you want to shoot yourself. So that's one reason we take them out. Another reason we take them out is because at this point we have a lawyer look at the list before we do it, and the lawyer's like, yeah, you're probably going to go to jail for that. So we take them out for that. And then the third reason is this will get somebody killed. So we take that out. The first year of Gishwet, we had an item that was thrown in at the last minute, which was wrap yourself in Christmas tree lights, turn them on, and at night climb onto the peak of a roof and stand as a human Christmas tree. I don't know, like, how delirious or stupid you have to be to think that's going to be a good idea. But at the end of we had one day go by, and the first submission started coming in, and there was a photo of a guy standing on the peak of a 3-story roof, and it was like this steep slate roof, and he was completely tangled up in Christmas tree lights, and I was like, oh, we cannot have... it's a miracle that one individual didn't die, but we have to terminate this item immediately. So an email went out, effective immediately. You were disqualified if you try to do that item. So that happens actually more often than I care to admit. Every year we have to delete several items, even after we've gone through the culling process, because I'm kind of a little stupid.
Okay, how much fun did you have playing Lucifer?
I loved it, actually. I really enjoyed it. I felt like Cass's turn as a human wasn't quite as long as it could have been, and I really enjoyed playing him as a human. But when we got into Lucifer, I was worried that it was going to be cut short somehow. And the truth is I ended up getting to play almost a whole season of Lucifer, and I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So now that you know exactly who God is, what does that do for Cass?
It's an interesting question, one that we haven't yet delved into on the show, but I think that it is kind of an important, if intellectual, resolution for him. I mean, he has been wrestling with the question of where's Dad for many years now, and now knowing that that he was around in some way the whole time, I think is probably a source of some comfort, but also a source of some confusion. Like, okay, but if you were there, why the hell didn't you?
Why did we get through all of this?
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where that leaves him.
I know that cast have a interesting kind of dynamic this season.
Yeah.
How is that one for you to play as an actor? Because you've never really maybe had the chance to work with Sam before. And then two, what do you think that relationship's going to do for the cast and see if it's going to change him in any way?
Well, I think it's nice for Cass to have somebody he can talk to that's not Sam or Dean. He can commiserate with about those awful guys, Sam and Dean. So I think it affords an interesting opportunity for Cass, and I'm looking forward to Cass getting to know Mary and seeing how that relationship unfolds and how it potentially changes the dynamic between him and Sam and Dean. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye.
How are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Thanks, how are you?
Yeah, awfully chipper for day, 5, 4?
We're running on no sleep.
Yeah.
Really?
Fumes, salt fumes.
Coffee
Sleep
and
deprivation.
yes, no sleep.
It's your 5th wind, right?
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you feel like events like this give you more energy?
You mean like going forward?
Yeah, or even if you wake up kind of like, I have to do a panel and be up. And
No, this is exciting. I think one of the only things that I wish was different is I wish we had time to like go on the floor and actually. I don't get to see anything.
Yeah.
I'd love to walk the floor and just be a fan of this stuff too. But they don't really let us do that. So, I guess I could like throw a mask on and.
That's what I heard. Was it Henry Cavill was here? Yeah, in an anonymous mask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe one of these years I'll be able to. I'll go walk the floor. But other than that, yeah, this is exciting. I mean, look, I know we're season 12, but it's still a show that we're all passionate about. We still love telling these stories. I still love playing this character. So to come somewhere where I can surround myself with people that also have an interest in the show and interested in the characters and stuff, it's fun. I enjoy answering questions. I enjoy talking about it. It's obviously something I know a little something about. So it's nice when you get asked questions about things that you know about.
Is there any question you wish someone had?
I don't know. I get a lot of questions. I don't know. No one's ever asked me that anymore. You win. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
Do you think you've ever learned something about Dean or about this show from a fan or a press question that you maybe hadn't thought about before?
Oh, sure. There's. I'm trying to think of an example, but I have had questions where that have kind of perplexed me a bit and be like, oh, well, I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, and I love that. I love that people, essentially that's what art is it's open to interpretation, and people can see things differently. It can inspire them in a different way. They can enjoy different aspects of it than the next person. And I think that's, and I love being a part of a world that supplies us with that. And so it's always refreshing when somebody points out a story point or points out a character point that I didn't really see it that way, but that makes perfect sense. And and sometimes it's fun to argue about, like, nope, that's not what I was going for. That's not what that means. So, but again, it's something that I love talking about. I love the show. I love the people I work with, and I love the fans and the people who take an interest in what we do. It's still fun after 12 years.
You mentioned how much you still love playing the game after all these years. Is part of that because of how the show kind of almost reinvents itself every year? Like last year you had a lot of the more dynamic, or this year it's going to be a lot smaller and intimate. Is that something that you're really excited to get into for season 12?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, like, wherever the story goes, and it can pretty much go anywhere because we're not really bound by, reality. We've certainly, I think, jumped the shark several times, but I always say, as long as I can continue to play Dean, it doesn't matter what scenario you put him in. Even going back to like the French Mistake, when they were like, listen, we're going to be using your name and you're going to be Jensen. I'm like, hang on. But I'm always going to be playing Dean. They're like, yes. And I'm like, cool. Call me whatever you want then. And I think that I take solace in that and pride in that I can play this character and you can put him in any scenario and I still enjoy playing this character. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we were all kind of talking before. We thought one of the most interesting things for Sam coming up this season is how is he going to kind of connect with Mary? Who's this woman who only, for the most part, existed through stories?
Sure, and some pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how much fun is that for you to play? And then two, kind of what can we expect from seeing Mary?
Got it. I think that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to. It kind of strangely, the reason I got into Supernatural in the first place was because of the human element of it. In this fantastical setting of ghosts and demons and angels and vampires and zombies, So I'm really excited to go back to that and explore those stories. But this is the first time that I'll explain after I say it because there might be some disagreement. But this is the first time we'll see Sam as a son. Because he was never that. It was never like, oh, Dad, or like, hey, Dad, It was always like, fuck you, like butting heads and contentious and like you made me do. He put a lot of blame on his dad and used his dad as a scapegoat for a long time. The irony being that it's probably Mom's fault more than Dad. You know what I mean? Like she was the Campbell, she was the hunter. It was her family that brought Azazel into our lives, and I think Sam's going to have to come to terms with that and realize that maybe his dad wasn't all evil. And had the tables been turned, Mary probably would have done the same thing if John was on the ceiling burning. She probably would have hunted this thing down and killed it. So he'll learn a lot about himself and being a son. And we've seen Sam be a demon and an angel and a killer and a friend, but we've never really seen him be a son. So seeing him from that and seeing him at this point in his life, after he's been through so much, now kind of going back to being a boy, even though now he's more of a man than he ever had been before. So I'm really looking forward to that as an actor and as somebody who likes Sam to see what goes on. Yeah, thank you.
There's been a lot of talk about sort of the boys' dynamic with their mom and how that's going to be explored next season. How do you think Mary's presence is going to affect the dynamic between Sam and Dean? Is there going to be more distant rivalries? Is there going to be some battle failing?
Probably all of vying for affection. Yeah. I think it's really another thing we're seeing is the boys haven't necessarily had a lot of rules or structure, and that's now twofold because we have the British men of letters who are much more regimented and structured and are still proper men of letters. Like we just realized we were legacy, but all the men of letters were dead. It's like, oh, here's our Bucker. It's a lot of information, but we weren't initiated. We didn't have to do the studies. It's like self-study. It's like homeschooling, and now you're going to Harvard or something. You're like, oh, I can't just turn this in. Like I don't want to read it your way. And then also with Mom, we're going to see the boys where they have somebody to answer to again, and not because they have to, but more because they want to. Like I think we're going to see the boys want to please Mom, want to keep Mom safe. And she's a hunter though. Like if we're going off on a hunt, she's not going to get a little Ziploc bag and make us a sandwich and be like, see you later. She's going to want to come hunt with us. And so it's going to be like, well, who's going to... I feel like Sam probably sees Mary like Dean sees Sam. Like I got to keep her safe, Like I have something I never had, never ever had it, and I don't want to let it go, even though she's perfectly capable, you know. So it's really interesting after 11 years to like have new cool shit to kind of look forward to.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all very much.
I'm doing it here at the table for always keep playing, man.
Yeah,
brother.
great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank y'all for the love and support back, man. It's been a big help for me. I even brought this from last year.
Do you have your tea light? We were talking about those earlier. I almost brought mine too.
This is mine on stage. I had it in my pocket. I was like,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Have a great day.
Thank y'all so much.